leading the way, shining bright like the healing rays. 420 patients, we stand as one. Safe access for everyone. Oh, we rise up, lifted higher. Medicine fueled by love and fire. Together we blaze, together we laugh. Patients for safe access. That's the
following production has been brought to you by the Hippie Broadcasting Network, WTHC Radio, and Stoner Records. Now, here's your host, Summer Parker.
Hi, you guys. Welcome back into our weekly, sometimes bi-weekly, Patients for Safe Access podcast. My guest this week is Miss Stephanie Davis, and she is a paralegal with about 10 years of experience and expertise in marijuana and hemp regulatory compliance, litigation, and licensing. So her unique perspective today is going to be that she is a former employee of the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority, which is the medical marijuana regulatory agency for our state. So Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm just blessed to have you as a guest today and excited to talk to you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, yeah. So I had seen you off and on Facebook and stuff like that. And I think even at one time, Anthony had sent me a message and he was like, hey, this OMMA employee is stalking me, and her name is Stephanie Davis. And so, we started looking into you, of course, right? And so then I got to hear you speak recently at the OMMA's open public comment period, which is during the time frame in which people can speak about the new proposed rules that they're trying to put out for the following year to take effect in November of 2027 or 2026, sorry. And so you're very passionate in that 3 minutes. And I would just like to ask you if you could kind of summarize what you spoke on during that public comment period.
Sure, absolutely. So as you mentioned, I used to work at OMMA and specifically in the legal department. So I was a legal assistant there. So I got to be really involved with the court process and the administrative cases and things like that. Little insider information, I was the paralegal on all of the grow sign cases. So while that was going on, those were the cases that I was kind of working on. And so currently we kind of have what's called an administrative law judge who hears the administrative cases, all of their hearings, the pretrial conferences and the trials. And he is kind of an independent administrative law judge because he doesn't even work for OMMA. He works for the Attorney General's office. And in my opinion, he is incredibly fair and just. That doesn't mean that respondents always win, but it also means that OMMA doesn't win 100% of the time either. He's incredibly fair. He listens to the evidence. And currently, the way the evidential structure is set up, you get to perform what's called discovery. And the discovery process in an administrative case looks like what we call request for admissions, interrogatories, which are basically just questions you get to ask the other side, and then request for production. And so that is actually documents, right? So we can ask for things like the inspection report, investigator field notes, that sort of things, and including the body cameras now that the inspectors wear with the inspections. And so these new proposed rules want to get rid of all of that. They want to exchange the ALJ for what's called a hearing examiner. This person will likely be an OMMA employee, meaning that they are going to adopt the model that OBNDD currently uses, where they have the hearing officer who does the recommendation to the executive director. So now instead of an ALJ, which Director Berry gives her authority to this ALJ, because technically the OMMA APA says that Executive Director Berry is the one who's supposed to be presiding over all of these administrative cases. But yes, ma'am, but she's allowed to appoint that authority to an ALJ. And so that is kind of what she's done for the last, 5 years since she's been there. There have been several ALJs over the last few years, but now Judge Lee is the only one. And he's been the only one for about the last year and a half. And like I said, I think he's great. He's very fair. And I used to clerk for him sometimes. Whenever the OMMA hearing clerk was out, I would be his hearing clerk sometimes. So I feel like I know him pretty well. And like I said, I think he's incredibly fair. Again, that means, not one side wins 100% of the time. It is way more balanced with him there, which I love, because I think that that's important. But one of my main kind of points in my public comment was that this shift is less about public safety and getting bad products off of the shelves that our patients access. And it's more about administrative conveniences and wins for the authority. Whereas, obviously, I feel that our industry wouldn't even be around if it wasn't for the patients. They are what form our market. They are the people who bring in revenue for our industry. And so when OMMA says that their number one priority is public safety, I want them to back that up with action. And these proposed rules don't exactly back that up with action. It seems more like they are just trying to use a catch-all to remove licenses versus focusing on bad actors, because I think we all are on the same page that there are bad actors in our industry, and we want those people out of our industry.
We do.
It hurts our compliant businesses who are spending the money, exorbitant amount of money for compliance. They are putting out extra testing for their products. They are putting extra R&D into products to make sure they're safe. And they are the ones who are kind of getting punished by all of the over regulatory actions that we're kind of seeing here as of late.
Man, there's going to be so much to unpack here today. I can't even already. The ALJ thing is incredibly important. And if you are in the Oklahoma medical marijuana industry and community, you really do need to get involved here on this, guys. Because if they take that ALJ away, which, by the way, his name is Judge Joe Dewey, like she said, and he's actually a really great guy. Don't know him on a personal level, obviously, but I've been in his court proceedings enough to see what you're saying, where he's, as fair as he can be and, puts it all out there. If they go to this hearing examiner thing where this gets passed in their proposed rules, will it be a single hearing examiner or would it be more like a panel of examiners? Uh-oh, I can't hear her. Hippie, you know what's going on? All right, let's see. Hang on with this, guys.
It wasn't me. She might even jump out.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yep.
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. Sorry about that. So it's probably going to be one hearing examiner. That's the way OB&DD does it. And so you'll go through basically like the full hearing, but it'll just be in front of that one hearing examiner. And then they will give their recommendation to Executive Director Berry, or whoever that executive director will be after a new governor, because the likelihood of Director Berry staying in her position after a new governor is elected is probably slim to none.
Well, if she does get kept into that position, I think we should impeach her. So, that sign was made back many years ago, and it's crazy how true it still rings to this day. I actually really like her on a personal level. I rip the hell out of OMMA all the time, but as a human being to a human being, she's another person, and she's well respected and things like that, and she's doing what she can. And so, but do I feel like she does everything she should in the right ways in handling the agency and patient safety? Absolutely not. I don't know if you had a chance to work with Alicia Scholl very much while she was there for patient services. But she was in it to improve consumer safety, improve patient safety. And she come out of the OMMA with kind of the same thing with what you're saying, where their direction is more administrative than accountable for, harming patients. So
it's unfortunate. I have an experience with a bad product. I used to actually own dispensary, grow, and a processor. And so I was running my dispensary during COVID, and I used to be called the compliance Nazi because I'm overboard on the compliance. And so even before Metric, I had a product check-in list. And so part of that product check-in list was to check the testing results. And so a very large producer in the state of Oklahoma, and I think they are still licensed and still a producer in this state, tried to sell me a vape cartridge that failed for pesticides. And the even more ironic thing about this product is it was actually a fundraiser for veterans, which if anybody knows me on a personal level, I'm a military family. My husband was killed in Iraq. And so veteran issues are a huge thing for me. And it's actually how I got into cannabis, was fighting for veteran access in Colorado. And so I turned them into OMMA. I followed up regularly. And even when I worked at OMMA, I followed up about it and nothing was done. No recall, no summary suspension, no nothing. And so that was very disheartening for me, especially after I worked there. Because you would think that they would go, oh, this is a problem. But if they didn't even take it seriously enough and one of their employees turned it in, I mean, that's why I do have a glimmer of hope with these emergency summary suspensions that maybe they are doing more these days. But I'm still with this last, I'll tell you honestly, with this last embargo, with someone being able to use unlicensed products in their dispenser, that is a really scary situation because, why was this dispensary allowed to continuously buy? This wasn't the first time they purchased this unlicensed product. Why has this been allowed to happen on more than one occasion? And it's incredibly scary. So
how many inspections? How many inspections did that location have where that product was there before being identified as a problem? That would be a question I would have, because I've been told by so many people. There was a place up here in Dewey, Oklahoma, that he got shut down. And he got shut down because he wasn't putting stuff through the system correctly, right? and not intentional or unintentional in any way, but just that it wasn't being, done correctly with the trace and track and all of that. And so when you have these, producers though that can slide that in, how are they able to do that at all? And how is that not seen by inspectors? Because what that guy up there in Dewey had been doing, it had been going on for a long time, and he had what he called an anal probing inspection, where there was multiple OMMA inspectors in his facility just a couple of months before, and they found no issues, so I don't think the inspectors are trained correctly either.
My theory is, since it wasn't metric logged product, they are relying a little too heavily on the data algorithms that metric is producing, because that's, if you don't know, metric is a tool for the government. It doesn't help licensees. All it is a tattletale program for the regulatory agencies. And so what it does is it gathers algorithms and data and different patterns, and then it sends red flags up to OMMA and says, hey, you should be looking at these things. I think that they are relying too heavily on metric data versus actual inspection work. Because, for instance, if the inspector had gone in there and said, this OK Kush product, let's look up on OMMA Verify their license number and make sure that they're a good producer, that would have been caught right away.
Right away. Yep. And the thing about metric that I don't know that most people know or understand is that every single piece of data in metric is self-input data by the owner, operator, manager, whomever it is, okay, that has the metric access with the ability to modify it. So all of that is a self-reported system. So we're counting on people to be transparent and honest with their, information, when obviously we have, like we've said before, bad actors in the state who have done horrible things through the seed and sale, trace and track. So it's an interesting thing. We're going to actually come back to that. We are going to get ready to take a short break here. We have a commercial and then we are going to have a song. And today's song is by Seed Squatch and it's named Ms. Mary. Take us out.
Days down by the swamp where I was raised, popping caps, sitting back, listening to the guitar play. The shade of blues unknown by a few, it rings inside of my head like they always do. Hype is filled, reality's killed, everything comes in twos, yeah. Jackson back, listening to the hits of the lady, yeah. The shade of blues unknown by a few. It rings inside of my head like they always do. Your pipe is filled, reality's cute. Yeah, everything still comes in twos, while everything will fall on you.
What's up, everybody? It's Rich from Rebel Sounds Rising, and we are getting ready to celebrate our 2-year anniversary, February 7th at Rising River Brewery in McCungy, Pennsylvania, bringing you up close and personal sets with Rebel Family, Elephants Dancing, L&J Sessions, MSJR, and Dylan Peters. You're not going to want to miss this one. Tickets are selling fast, so get them at www.risingriverbrewing.com. Make sure you're there because you're not going to want to miss this. 2 years, Rebel Sounds Rising. See you there.
Nugs of many sizes, munchies, trippy friends, and stash jars are some of the gifts you'll find here at lovenugbuds.com for a unique gift for your 420 friend. Love Nug Buds will have what you want in the end.
Are you searching for affordable products and great rosin? Well, look no further. Whether you're keeping it simple or going all out, we've got you covered. Sunny's for everyday deals, and Hash RX for that premium fire. Sunny's keeps your stash affordable, giving you value every single day. When you want the best, Hash RX. Oklahoma's premium live rosin. No solvents, no shortcuts. Affordable or premium, the choice is yours. Find us at Oklahoma dispensaries.
Welcome to the shop where the colors come alive. Collectors dream and memories shine like fireworks in the sky. Stacked to the ceiling with stories in light. Magic in the air when the toys play at night. Robots spinning, Game Boys flashing, action figures strike a pose. Barbie's got her sunglasses on, G.I. Joe's in hero mode. Arcade lights and vintage signs, glowing warm and bright. Everybody smiles when the toys play at night. Race cars roaring down the aisle like thunder and chrome. Furby's waking up like they just found home. Every shelf's a treasure map, everything feels right. Step into the wonder when the toys play at night.
Y'all caught me dancing.
It's a bop.
So, welcome back. If you are just joining us or did not get to find out who this beautiful lady is here on my show, this is Stephanie Davis, and she is a former employee of the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority, and she worked in their legal division. And some of what we've been talking about is open records request and, companies that have produced bad medicine that even as an employee herself, as Stephanie was, making a complaint about that company that had a cart that had some pesticide failed issues, the regulatory piece did not act with urgency or efficiency is how I'll say that.
That's right. And I saw a couple of comments.
Yes, let's do those real quick.
To talk about. Bleezy was talking about the COO and the kind of issue that we have with OMMA and OB&DD now requiring the certificate of occupancy. So I'll just let you know, OB&DD's position on that is that they've always been required. Yet they've never been on any application for any license until 2 years ago. OMMA hadn't asked for it until OB&DD decided to. And of course, y'all know that that is a team effort on their part. Right. These agencies, and I mean, if you don't know this, this is public knowledge, so this shouldn't be new to anybody, but these agencies meet on a regular basis, if not weekly, very regular. So OMMA, OB&DD, DEQ, the Attorney General's office, all of these agencies meet and work together, and they are all directed by the governor, right? So the governor kind of tells them what he wants to see, and then they kind of carry out the mission, and they do it together for the most part. That doesn't necessarily mean they all like each other, but they do kind of have concerted efforts there. And so unfortunately, the fire marshal hasn't expanded their team. Why? I don't know. I don't think any of us know why that wasn't a logical step of, hey, let's expand some of our staff, because at the time we had 10,000 marijuana business licenses when that was all going on. We don't have that number these days, but still, if they're going to require that the certificate of occupancies be issued to get these licenses, then they need to make sure the avenue to get those certificate of occupancies is available to these licensees within a timely manner, right? And I will tell you, I personally worked on almost 100 of these, what they called order to show cause through OB&DD. Lack of certificate of occupancy. And we're talking, some of these people had put their applications in early 2024. So way even before the safe harbor deadline, they put their applications in, and by 2025, they still weren't at an approved building permit with exceptions. And so that just creates such an impossibility for these businesses to get these documents that they need for these licenses. And that is a very frustrating situation for business owners who have spent a ton of money. And we're talking a ton of money. Some of these buildings require sprinkler systems, they require fire suppression systems. And if you have a certain amount of square feet, you have to have sprinklers. So, I mean, it's been a lot of investment, energy, and money to get these certificate of occupancies. And I've watched some really good people have to go out of business simply behind this piece of paper that wasn't enforced to get their original license 5 years ago. And it is a really sad situation. And I'll tell you, a lot of people have appealed at district court on some of those final agency orders, and have had some success. So
yay for them, because that sets precedents for other people as well. So
yes. Yeah. But I will say, if you're in the situation where you don't have your certificate of occupancy, that needs to be your main priority that you are getting if you want to stay in the marijuana industry.
And if people need help with that, Stephanie Davis can help you get steered in the right direction, and you can reach her at Amber Law Group in Oklahoma.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you have my cell phone number, please send me a text message too. If you know me well enough, you know I work 24/7. So that's never an issue.
Let's see. Let's go back.
I saw Jeff made a comment.
Yeah, I'm getting ready.
Okay, so he was talking about this metric data, and he did bring up an interesting point. So other states use metric. Obviously, Oklahoma is one of, I think, 15 at this point. Maybe still only 13, but quite a few states use metric. It's pretty well known. And data for metric in other states is public information and accessible for everyone. So
Yes.
our state has
We're only
what we
one of two
call,
states that don't do that, right?
do what now?
We're only one of two states that do not allow public access to metric data, correct?
Right. And our state has, HIPAA protections, right? And I don't want to get into a bunch of the nuances on that because it's incredibly complicated. But that is what OMMA says is their reasoning why they don't want to release this metric data, is because it ends up being patient information, which, again, I don't want to get into all of the nuances about it, but technically that metric information only shows very limited patient information. In fact, I think there's more patient information on our receipts that we get from the dispensaries than what would be accessible through metric. So, but there is a lot of good data that is in metric that I think is important, not only to patients, but also the other operators in our industry, right? Because when we start talking about bad actors, we don't always talk about the consequences that come on the good actors because of the bad actors, right? And so we see some of our companies that are working really hard to stay compliant, spending a lot of money to have good products, have child-resistant packaging and those sorts of things, when we have other producers who, cut corners and don't test correctly and don't only purchase in Oklahoma. And so that is that's disheartening, but I hope that we can get OMMA to open up some of that data, even if it's on a limited basis, right? And just say, here's what we can have, and get it out there, most especially on the products that are failing testing.
Yes.
I don't understand why we don't have every failed test be an email, just like the emergency orders. And I will tell you, I would like to say that I think that is a great change that OMMA has implemented. They have also implemented putting all of the administrative court schedules online.
Yes.
So now you can see who is going into court. And they are also going to start putting
why
some of
they're there.
Right, exactly. So maybe one day we'll get to the point where all of the pleadings are on there so that you can see what they're going to court for, right? Because OMMA has a plethora of cases, right? We're talking some of them are called OSV cases. And what that is an operational site visit case. So that is about people who have licenses who haven't either started operational or working towards operational status, and that's when they give you the 6 months to do it after your license. So, I mean, someone could be at OMMA court for that. It's not always just emergency summary suspensions or bad products that we're seeing in administrative court, right? So we don't want someone who is getting in trouble for their operational status be lumped into the same category as Happy Buds LLC or whatever that dispensary was that just got caught selling products from an unlicensed producer. Those two cases are not the same type of cases, right? So I would love to see that. I would also like to say that them bringing on the inspection reports now and automatically sending those within 7 days, that is actually going to help open records start getting processed in a faster manner. They only have one employee who processes open records requests, right?
Really?
Only one. And so, and as you guys know, the only previous way to get your inspection report was to submit an open records request. And I'm sure you had to wait 30 days for some of those to be fulfilled sometimes.
Oh, I've had to wait years for some of them.
I had one administrative case where I put in an open records request for the inspection report for this case, and we got it 264 days later after the case had already been resolved.
Oh, yeah.
So,
I wanted to bring up really quick. Go ahead, finish that real quick.
oh, I was just going to say, so now if we get inspection reports automatically, now we should be able to have a faster turnaround on some of those other requests that aren't inspection report related.
Right. On HIPAA, I wanted to discuss that real briefly because as a patient, when I submit a product to a laboratory for testing, I am a medical patient. To me, my data and my likeness, my identity, and all of those types of things should be protected by HIPAA, which would not allow a laboratory to discuss any of those things with the owners of the companies, correct?
That is technically how it should work. So HIPAA is for the people who manage the data, right? So it would be OMMA, the laboratory, your doctor's office, things of that nature. Okay. And they're the ones that the onus is on to protect that information and keep it confidential.
Yeah. The very first lab that we tested with in Oklahoma as a patient to try to determine what was going on with our health issues was with OKCTL Labs. And I don't often name them because I disassociated myself from their company because after we started testing products, we had tested probably 5 or 6 brands at this point, and there were 2 brands that had failed. And there was a couple that had continued, to be a good product with, passing testing. During that process, the manager of that lab had conversations with the owners of the 2 companies in which there were failed products for and disclosed our likeness and identity to those owners. And I, 1, felt like that was extremely unprofessional. 2, I did feel like it violated my HIPAA protections, and it made me lose trust, in them. Now, do I discredit their testing that they did for us and the results I received? No, I do not. But I felt my safety was put at risk further by them disclosing my likeness and identity to these owners for these companies, because as we well know, Graves Farms has been shut down. They were one of the companies, the very first company in which we received failed products for as an independent testing process. They were fined $133 million from the OMMA for their actions. They are not bad actors. They are criminals who poisoned patients of our medical program and were afforded safe passage through administrative proceedings instead of criminal proceedings.
Yeah, that I was actually working at OMMA when Graves embargo came down. I wasn't super involved with it, but I remember the beginning of it. So I haven't seen even the consent order on it, but I've heard he's not even in Oklahoma anymore. So
that is my understanding as well. But, when that all happened, the safeguards that OMMA had put in place to quote unquote protect us as patients failed us just as miserably as they did. And what I mean by that is that post recall, I was able to go into a dispensary and purchased recalled product from an affected dispensary on the recall list that with the affected batch number and everything matched up 100%. Was able to take that product to the lab, show that of course it was pesticide failed, you know what I mean, and show that had failed product that when we independently tested it, it failed and it was matching everything on the recall list. I think it's a travesty that the OMMA is not able to figure out how to protect us as medical patients, but yet criminals who are poisoning us are allowed all the protections in the world and the ability to move, relocate, go on with their best life, gain a residency in probably 2 years. And guess what? Like a crab in a bucket, a zebra doesn't change its stripes. They're going to do the same thing again if given the ability and opportunity.
Yeah, especially because I doubt, you mentioned he had a fine assessed, but I doubt that was actually paid. And here's a fun fact that I'm not sure if people know this, but the fines that the OMMA legal department assess, they actually go into the general fund. So they don't even go straight back to OMMA. They go to the general fund and then they're appropriated in a totally different way. So
that needs to change, or something about that needs to change, because we need to be able to have a victims impact fund for the victims of the medical marijuana program, of the failures of it. And what I mean in that is, say example, if we had a Michael Butanol fail issue, well, Michael Butanol, whenever you light a flame to that becomes cyanide. Okay. So then you become, a serious health issue. People that don't have insurance, their insurance companies don't want to pay it all, the whole 9 yards, can't go seek that medical treatment without being put into a massive debt. And there's no reason why, with the millions and billions of dollars that medical cannabis has brought into our state, that we should not be allocating a portion of that to take care of the people that are harmed by the regulatory agencies' inefficiencies and inabilities to protect.
I totally agree with that. And I don't understand. I never understood why it didn't go to OMMA. And I'll tell you, it's because I am not an expert in the political governance, the way it's set up. But I will tell you, Ashley Krall at OMMA would be able to tell you exactly why that funding goes back to the general fund versus OMMA. And so I always thought that was an interesting fact. I found that out while I was working there, because it was always like, well, then what are we collecting these fines for anyways, if they're not?
Is there actually collection of those fines happening? Because, I know just between two companies, that between Grace Farms and I think High Grade Labs, there was $433 million, $500 million assessed in two companies. Are they actually going after those funds?
I have not personally seen that happen. So in district court, whenever you get a judgment, you have to abstract it, right? And then you go through what's called post-judgment discovery, where you try to figure out where their assets are and blah, 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 blah. So OMMA is assessing these fines to these entities, right? And these entities have certain protections. Legally, they choose either corporation or an LLC, right? And different setups have different protections under each one. And so once these entities are dissolved, how do they collect the funds? I haven't seen the process for OMMA to do that, at least when I worked there. So what we have seen happen recently is whenever they issue an emergency summary suspension, what that does is cut off your metric, right? So they're suspending your license, which also suspends your access to metric, which means all of that inventory that was at your facility during the time of your suspension is sitting on your facility and needs to be wasted because it's now embargoed product.
Right.
Well, OMMA Legal is now not allowing people to surrender their licenses without assessing large fines, right? And so once your metric is held, like I said, you can't do anything with it. OMMA has to direct now that inventory. And so until you're paying this large fine, they're not going to help you get rid of this inventory. So that is now their process of collecting fines, because they have no other way to ensure that the money gets paid unless they have something that the licensee wants. And in these cases, they need to get their inventory. So
Well, yeah, because if they lock up their metric and say the licensee doesn't have the ability to pay this atrocious fine, right? So then you've got inventory sitting inside of a location that cannot be properly transferred, wasted, or done anything with, that at some point or another during your suspension, your OBNDD is going to expire, and then you can't have those controlled drugs in your building in the first damn place. So how effed are you really? And this is what the agency is doing to people, literally.
And not only that, on top of it, if you are a dispensary, say, that's been shut down, so you have retail foot traffic that's used to coming to you that now sees that you're shut down, but still knows that you have the, I mean, they know you have the inventory in there.
Right.
They know that it's it's under camera, it may be in a locked room, sure, all of that, but now you're not having employees there every day. They know it's just sitting there like a duck. And here's my thing, if OMMA's mission is to keep bad products from getting to patients and diverting it into the black market, why would they want a bunch of embargoed product just sitting at a facility, not being protected, exposed to contaminations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? So I have a hard time reconciling that with the position that the OMMA Legal has been taking here in the last, 4 months, 4 or 6 months. Because, that product, if the product is dangerous, then the product needs to be wasted as soon as possible, in my opinion.
And like when there's an embargo and a recall, let's say I'm going to use Alien House for this piece of the conversation. There was around 800,000 units of product that was confiscated. Okay, that was pesticide failed units according to the data released. When that happens, where does that product go to when OMMA is confiscating that? Does that go to a waste facility? Does that go to a holding facility for the case? Like,
OMMA doesn't usually confiscate the product. They embargo it and leave it on site. Now, OBNDD will definitely come in and confiscate the product, and they will usually incinerate it immediately. They burn it all down and ask questions later. So OBNDD, as the law enforcement, they will come in and take it. But that's what I'm saying. OMMA leaves all that embargoed product at your facility. And and in fact, they come in 30 and 60, 90-day checks to make sure that that product is still sitting there.
So let's go back to open records request for just a second here. So, you had actually been one of the people to assist me when I first started doing open records requests with OMMA, unbeknownst to me, because of course it just says OMMA Legal, you know what I mean? But I did find out through talking to you that you were one of the ones that helped me. So thank you for that, first off. Secondly, sometimes I doubt that when I receive my records request data, I sometimes doubt the completeness of the records provided. And I'm going to say it this way. There's a location in my hometown. It was called Flathead Meds. And it was believed to have been owned under a straw ownership that would have been built by Ron Durbin and his whole tenure of doing that type of stuff, of getting people hooked up, right? Had a guy from South Carolina who was the primary person for the company, but yet was only, of course, 25% on the paperwork. And the original set of documents that I was shown about this company had a Oklahoma resident who's owns Max Barbecue here in Skiatook. His name was the one that was on the paperwork at that time, right? Including the affidavit of lawful presence and things like that was provided for me to view. when I asked for the open records request from OMMA in regards to that company for ownership documents, from the of them becoming a licensee to when they were rated back in July of 2025 and shut down by OMMA. When I received that report, it doesn't have the owner of Max Barbecue's name in it anywhere, yet the documents that I had showed something different. So if it's found that an open records request is not completed properly, what's the accountability for their end?
So if you have any sort of dispute on an open records request, the process would be to address it at the district court level. So you would have to go and ask the district court to intervene and compel, that's the legal term, compel, which means make them give you the record. But I will tell you, there are some exceptions under the Open Records Act that they don't have to give you everything. They are allowed to keep some information from you. But if you know for a fact that like it's not confidential information that they are keeping from you, I will tell you, the Attorney General's office just started an open records accountability process. And so I would definitely, if you have any, doubts that everybody has been completely transparent with you, I would certainly reach out to him. And I see Charles's comment about one person in the open records department doesn't sound like a department. So let me just kind of clarify my comment. The person who does the open records is actually in the legal department. She's just the only paralegal that's assigned to doing open records. They have one paralegal assigned to it and then an attorney that supervises her doing it. That attorney used to be Kristen Siegel, but Miss Siegel is no longer with OMMA. And
I've tried to reach out to her to ask her to be on here. She won't call back.
Oh, she's amazing. I love Miss Siegel. She's an excellent attorney. And she did a lot of good for OMMA. I will say she got a lot of bad actors out.
She was the original attorney on the Graves Farms case whenever it went through administrative proceedings. And let me kind of tell you about this part. The ALJ, last couple times we'd been in his courtroom, we noticed a pattern where he would, if there was a district court proceeding for that company going on, then he was saying, hey, we're going to put our stuff on hold till they wrap up this district court situation, and then we will bring this back into the fold, right? I did not see that happen with Graves Farms. For everything that they found administratively wrong, okay, there was 100% criminal action, there was criminal something there. There had to have been. You can't shut down these companies for clerical errors, get the amounts of fines that you do for these companies without there being something criminal in there for some of them, at least, And there was so much documentation with Graves Farms Company, about the pesticide fails. When I did an open records request with OMMA on all fails from Graves Farms to OMMA that were reported by a laboratory for pesticide, there was 167 failed documents, failed tests, plus the 40-something that we tested of their products that had failed. And it was absolutely insane. When I first asked for that open records request, I guess I put it too vague. And I had just kind of put it as, all failed testing reported by a lab to OMMA from this date to this date. And then in the keyword search bar, I had put Graves Farms. Well, I didn't see the Graves Farms part at first. So they responded back to me with an email, Stephanie, that said that from the inception of the program through July of 2024, when I asked for that records request, that there was 41,000 documents that pertain to that open records request. And in order for me to receive receive those documents, that I would need to pay a fee of $12,000, right? That's a travesty to me for our agency to know that there's been that many failed products in our program with the minimal amount of enforcement or action taken against those bad actors who are really bad at horrible performances. That's our metric.
And before metric, they relied on people those were labs reporting it to OMMA. So I mean, and we've seen, from the inception of our program, we've also had issues with labs, right? Who was the guy from Arkansas? Who was the first lab? I can't even remember. Fast Labs, right? Wasn't that the first lab that got shut down in our program? Was Fast Labs, the guy from Arkansas that came
first or not, but right there in the beginning,
yeah. And so I mean, the majority of our labs, yes, we can count on them doing the right thing, right? But I mean, how many labs had failed testing that didn't even get reported? And so that's not even part of that 41,000 pages.
And I don't think that if it fails for a pesticide on an R&D, I don't believe they have to report that. Do they?
Yeah, on R&D, you're right. On R&D. But
see, that's crazy.
Those products better not be on the shelves. Producers, don't do that if you're doing R&D. Don't put that on the shelves. Get you. Yeah. Charles just asked another question, but I'm going to say I'm not going to be able to answer that one.
Okay. With respect, Charles. So what would you say would be the general consensus of OMMA's opinion of Patients for Safe Access?
So I will tell you, I was actually, one of the things that OMMA does is they have subcommittees. And I had the honor of serving on one of the subcommittees that was actually patient focused. So there are a group of people at OMMA that are patient only oriented. Okay. And I got to serve alongside some of them because like I said, I was on this subcommittee where we talked about, here's some of the things that we talked about, and it's all good news. So, I mean, I don't think OMMA will mind me sharing this, hopefully. But one of the things was we wanted to train all of our inspectors on the medical conditions in which medical cannabis can help our patients, and so that they could understand why we need 100 milligram gummies versus 10 milligram dosages, right? Yeah. Because, someone who has extensive medical issues, a 10 milligram gummy is not going to touch them, right? And so we need to have 100 milligram options for patients who are suffering much more severe medical trauma than, say, me, who has anxiety, right? So maybe a 10 milligram will work on me. It doesn't. I'm just going to tell you, it doesn't. But someone like me, typically a 10 milligram would work on me. But and Jeff said R&D is also reported in metric. And see another reason why we need metric access to be public, right? Because here's the other thing. I mean, the other thing is not all products and edibles are produced in the same fashion, right? You have some homemade edibles that have, solventless products in them. But then you also have some products where distillate is just like, put on the product, right?
Yeah, so get in, right? I know somebody does that.
Right. So if I can see the metric product of someone putting in a Rice Krispie treat from the grocery store, then I know that they're just injecting it with distillate. They're not actually
creating that product from scratch.
Right, exactly. Infusing the product with cannabis medicine, right? Okay, what do I think about the executive order for phones and recordings? Here's my thing. I don't understand it because, number one, these proceedings are public. they tell you they're public, like, and so they allow the public to come. Here's the other thing. They are also audio and video recording in the courtroom. And so that goes back to my other point. All you have to do, if you don't want your, if you can't have your phone in the courtroom, all you have to do is do an open records request for the audio recording from the court clerk.
So this whole combo started August of last year was when we started seeing OMMA start to restrict our access physically to record in the courtroom. Prior to August, Anthony has been in there hundreds of times with his big ass camera set up on tripods, recording the court proceedings and things like that. We all know Ron Durbin made a damn clown show out of the OMMA courtroom. Okay, that was on live 100 times. So August was whenever they started bottlenecking us down, and they said that they were no longer going to allow cameras in the courtroom. And this was a convenient timeline, in my opinion, because obviously we were attending all of the Graves Farms court proceedings, and OMMA very much so knew, and I have emails to back this up, that we wanted to record that so that the court proceedings from the admin side could be shown to our attorneys on the civil litigation side, right? Without having to pay $250 an hour for my attorney to come sit in the damn courtroom to listen to it. So they knew that. We started having issues with them. They said no cameras. And then the next thing we know, we're going back, and it's not only no cameras, but it's also no audio. And we get handed this executive order from Adria Berry that was signed in April that said all this stuff, but hadn't been enforced from April through August for some reason, right? Until all of a sudden.
That's interesting, because didn't Mr. Durbin's bar license get pulled in April?
Somewhere around.
Yeah. So it just kind of seems to me that it was like 4 years too late to prevent what they were trying to prevent. I'm going to be real honest with you. I don't understand it, because if they're all public forums, why isn't it open? But I will tell you that Oklahoma is I've lived in several different states where I've dealt with open records requests and public meetings and open meetings acts and things like that. And Oklahoma is the most strict with their access to the government by taxpayers. They want to, I've seen municipalities even cut off commenting on Facebook to their citizens, because they just don't want to they don't want to have to deal with that, because there are consequences that come if you delete someone's comment and restrict what they have to say on a public forum. And there's a lot of nuances that go on with that. And again, I'm not an attorney, so I'm not giving legal advice, but I will tell you, Oklahoma is the most, or should I say, the least transparent when it comes to providing records, letting people record in meetings, and having that. I mean, it's just been across the state. So I don't think that it's just a OMMA specific. And if I had to say a reason why they did it, it's going to be convenience, because that's how they operate. That's why these rules are about to change, is because their OMMA legal department's job has been a little bit too hard for them, and they want to make it a little bit easier. And they have been doing this trend for several months, because they have been restricting discovery more and more on each case. And discovery is like the real meat and potatoes of a litigation case. So
Yeah, we went ahead and I emailed the director herself and stuff, and I was like, hey, in district court proceedings, you can ask for a form to request in advance to be able to record in the courtroom. And if you guys are no longer going to let us openly, freely record in the courtroom, I would like to request permission to at least record this case, right? Not only did I not get a response back on it, but then Jeffrey Havard he has a case going through administrative proceedings right now, and he wanted his court case. He's a party to the case, and he wanted his case documented for his own self, right, and for his attorney. And he was told that he could not have that. And to me, that's just horrible because, like, as a party to it, you should be able to have that ability. But why are they not going to let us have a form to apply to record? Again, then that's whenever I got the second administrative executive order stating that not only could we not have the cameras in there, we couldn't audio record, but now we can't even have our cell phones in the courtroom, right? Took it all the way down to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is not a very good PR move, personally.
No.
I mean, obviously, they're within their authority to be able to do that. I've seen that across the state on several different things. I don't think it's the right PR move, but at the end of the day, Governor Stitt's on his way out, which means Director Berry is on her way out, unfortunately. And I too, to your point, I personally like her. I think that she has gone through quite a bit of things that she didn't necessarily deserve to have to go through. But, I mean, she's not going to have to deal with the consequences of that next year because she's going to be out.
Yeah.
So
no, she's not.
But I will say that there is a lawmaker now that is trying to have cameras. He's putting up letters to say that. So, I mean, I think it would do some good reaching out to him and maybe talking to him about your experience at the administrative court level, because you have to go through, at least in our industry with our licenses, we have to go through the administrative court first to be able to have standing at the district court, and then to be able to have standing at a possible appeal level there. And so, I mean, the record does need to be reflected accurately. And so I think having cameras would definitely help that. Yes, the audio is great, but I mean, if someone's not talking loud enough, there can be issues, and so I just feel like the more transparency that we have in administrative and district court cases, number one, that's better for the record. But number two, people will be able to kind of demystify the whole litigation process, right? Because a lot of people don't even want to deal with administrative cases because they don't want to have to go hire a lawyer. They don't understand it, and they just want to make OMMA go away. And so if we can kind of understand the litigation process a little bit better, it's going to scare us a little bit less. And then we can be able to fight more and know how to fight better, should I say.
Let's see. Charles had a note here for me. Let's see. So when we talk about bad actors and we talk about like straw owners and things like that, we have several different lawyers, law firms, and things of that nature that have been associated with straw owner schemes and stuff of that nature. One of those being Matt Stacy. Obviously, Durbin had his hand in 231 LLCs at one point, I think. And Bridie and a couple of others, with that, do you know, let's see, Charlie, what was it all here you were saying on that real quick?
Just when is a bad actor a criminal? When he hurts me or you?
When is a bad actor a criminal? When they hurt me, when they hurt you, or like how many of us does it take for them to harm either through straw ownership schemes, failed products, anything like that, not following SOPs, not testing properly, etc., all those things. When is enough where we're going to start holding someone criminally accountable to set precedents to others to not follow in that path any longer?
So I'll tell you, that is all up to the district attorney and the law enforcement side. So OMMA just recently got a law enforcement division, and that's called the OIE, right? OBNDD has always been law enforcement. And then they work with the district attorneys and the attorney general's offices on the criminal charges. And they're the ones alone who decide what enough is enough. So if
do you know of anyone that actually has had criminal charges due to OMMA's pushing for that?
A lot. Mostly OBNDD versus OMMA, but OBNDD does not play. They will come and file trafficking charges very quickly. I have seen them mistakenly turn off a registration and then end up confiscating those things and then having an issue later when it was found that the OBNDD registration was actually good. So that's what I say. They will come in and burn it down to the ground and ask questions later on the OBNDD side. And so OMMA, I will say, they tend to let OBNDD take on more of the criminal action just because they are law enforcement and have been law enforcement for decades, right? And that's not to say, I will tell you, OMMA does try to mitigate some of the criminal things on their side. Like they would much rather them get you to surrender your license and then let OBNDD and the Office of the Attorney General handle that criminal side than let them get into it. They're very small. OIE is a very small department at OMMA. But I will tell you, they're decent people in that department. I like a couple of them that I know. Shane Reeves used to be there, but he's not there anymore.
Yes, he's not. Neither's Eli anymore either.
Yes. Jesse Brewer is now the director of OIE at OMMA.
Yep. That's all we'll say about that. Pesticide expansion panel. Last year, that was something that OMMA put into proposed rules that did not go through on the Senate floor. It went through on the House side, but not on the Senate side. There was a lot of pushback from, labs about this piece of equipment that OMMA wanted them to get in order to, be able to test the analytes and things of that nature. But Harvard Labs has been able to show that extra additional equipment is not even needed, that they can test for I think it's 55 analytes. And I'm happy to be able to say that this year there is a bill going forward with Jacob Rosecrans' office, and it is House Bill 3013, and it is for the pesticide expansion panel. So the last 3 pages, I think it's 18 through 21 possibly, is where you can see that list. And we're hopeful that this will get approved this year, because they were not allowed to put it through the same way that OMMA did through proposed rules again this year because of it being done that way last year. So it had to be done in a bill. And so I'm glad to be working with Jacob Rosecrans on that and see what we can do to push some consumer safety, patient safety by testing for more pesticides instead of the bare minimum.
Yes. And listen, we don't even have to reinvent the wheel. I mean, go look at other states. They have approved pesticide lists and banned pesticide lists. And they've already done all of the research and the hard lifting. And we can just take all of their work. And here's the other thing. I hope that when people are talking about this list, that we talk to the real experts about it. Okay. Let's not talk to someone like me about what pesticides are the right ones to use, talk to someone with that experience, the scientific background, the knowledge. And I'll tell you, I know, sorry, I keep losing my shoe. What I'm looking for.
You're good.
But there are some really, really, really smart people at OMMA that would nerd out talking to people about pesticides. And so, and I can get you in touch with some of them if you want. So,
Yes.
but I'm telling you, there are several folks at OMMA that are fighting really, really hard for patients. And in fact, can I give a shout out to one employee that has just been really, really, really helpful with the whole med portal issue shutdown, and that is Zach Collins in licensing. So if you're watching, Zach, or if you're at OMMA and you're watching because you wanted to hear what I had to say, please tell Zach Collins that he's amazing and we appreciate everything he's doing right now. He is going above and beyond trying to fix these med portal issues. So I just want y'all to know. And also, Jesse Brewer and Zach, technically both together, they were the driving force behind licensing applications getting caught up in the last.
Oh, that's good to hear.
So, just so y'all know.
Kudos. As far as the pesticide stuff, I just wanted to say this. There is an approved pesticide list on the Department of Agriculture's website that is for hemp/marijuana. Okay. And it is our opinion, and not everybody's going to agree with me here, but it is our opinion that if you are found to have other chemicals in your marijuana than what's on the approved pesticide list, that there should be some type of accountability there as well for using like federal chemical laws. You know what I mean? You're breaking a federal chemical law by using a chemical outside of the approved list. So whether it's a federal issue, state issue, whatever, that needs to be addressed somewhere down the line here as well, because willy-nilly can go grab Roundup from, Walmart and use that on their plant. And maybe not all of the, components of Roundup are on the pesticide testing list. So just as an example, and that's just something that we have felt strongly about for quite some time as well.
Well, I wonder how we could have them amend the Appendix C in the rules to add that as a violation with a finable amount.
I don't know, but I've got a couple of legislators that I am working closely with this year that if you will send me that piece of information there, I can see what we can do, because some of the stuff that we wanted to get into legislation this year isn't going to make it this year, but the conversations are started now about them, and they will be getting pushed forward in years coming. And so definitely want to, make effective change to protect our people.
Right. So. And I think that this is a perfect example of how, even though sometimes we don't always see eye to eye as the industry and the regulatory agencies, this is something that we can come together and because we have the same mission at the end of the day. We want to protect these patients, and we want them to have safe products, and being able to say, you are being held accountable for using an unsafe product in the growing or the manufacturing of this consumable product that these patients are going to take, then I think that is a really great first step to even rebuilding the relationship that our industry has with our regulatory agencies that were harmed at the very beginning. I do think that there is definitely some room there to work together, and we should be. Let's
see. Did we talk about the scare tactic to get them out of their licenses? Was that already discussed?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's just basically the admin process, right? So that's why I wanted to kind of talk about that process to demystify it a little bit, so that just because you get a petition for revocation or non-renewal, that is some of them, doesn't mean that you should just give up, don't fight, and surrender your license, because you have a defense, right? And as long as there's an ALJ in there, you're going to get your day in court and you're going to be able to be heard. And so don't panic if you get these petitions, whether it's from OMMA, OBNDD, the DEQ, OTC. I mean, there are tons of agencies that regulate our industry. But just know that there is always a process to fight whatever allegations they may have against you.
Right. Charlie wanted me to pull up this question here. So, Steph, were you aware that OMMA investigators have been fired for wanting to pursue criminal charges versus administrative action?
I have not heard that. In fact, the last inspector I heard that got fired had nothing to do with that. It was something else. But tell me more.
Yeah.
No,
private comment. I do.
Okay. I don't know of it personally, but you know.
All right. Let's see. We're going to go through questions now over here at the side. And let's see. Lazy said hi. Real Bro said hi. Hey, everybody that said hi. I'm not going to read them all. So Bleezy had said, how about funds possibly allocated from our OMMA or OBNDD license for the fire marshal so that they can have the manpower to finish COOs in a timely manner? We have two guys that handle the whole load.
Right. I totally don't understand why the state fire marshal doesn't have more employees. I'll tell you, Angela Aguilar and Trisha over there are at their wits' end. I can tell you that. They are busy beavers over there. I know they would love to get some extra help. And see, that's where we're going to need to lean on our legislators, though, and tell them that the funds need to be appropriated to the state fire marshal's office.
Right. No, we absolutely, that has to be something that has to be almost legislatively changed, doesn't it? Because you have to make that a part of it. Let's see. Bleezy said he is one of those businesses that it took 2 years to get everything done right, to get a COO, all that stuff. He says HIPAA is just an excuse. Metric doesn't have to post patient information, but the product information should be public from front to back. That's right. Clock it, baby.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we should be able to know exactly what is in each product that we are consuming in our state.
Bleezy says, love what you ladies do. I have to run. Steph Davis, I don't know where, but I know you from somewhere. Have a good evening, ladies. Good night, Bleezy. Ronnie says, it seems to me that the OMMA mission is to shut down mom and pop businesses. So Ronnie, that's a really great comment, because that leads me to something that Charlie wanted to know is, what is the magic number? Is there one?
There really isn't. They look at the violations only. That's all they care about. And so, like, there has been, like I said, there are operational site visit cases, and that is operational status. Then there are no-show cases, and that is where you've had an inspection that you've missed, and they haven't been able to inspect your property. We have over the limit sales cases. That round was crazy, because a lot of that was just people had inputted the wrong calculations into metric, and so it was showing that they were selling 28 pounds when they were really only selling 28 grams.
Oh my gosh.
That was a dumpster fire. But then they have the more serious emergency order cases. And so, yeah.
So Charlie said, what do you think about Miss Berry's executive order for no phones or recording? And then Ronnie backed it up with no recording because someone has something to hide. So you said that every case there at OMMA Administrative Court is actually recorded, audio and video, correct? And so it's something we can do an open records request on to get that, actually.
Yeah. And they may not 100% run the cameras in the courtroom. I mean, there are cameras in the courtroom, but they may not be running the cameras during the hearings. But as long as the hearing clerk has her little black tape recorder sitting in front of her, that audio is being taped. So
now, is her little black recorder separate than Judge Dewey's? Because that thing is clicked on and off.
Yes. So that one that they turn on and off, that's the one. Yes.
See, to me, that's still not transparency because you're not actually audioing that entire series of events there. That's weird.
Right.
Jeff said, yes, we saw the guard tell Anthony to stop recording during a hearing, but they allowed him to bring it all in and get it set up before telling him he couldn't record. It's interesting. Sometimes when we get there, if they know we're coming, there will be 4 or 5 OMMA investigators, whatever, enforcement people there in the lobby, almost waiting for us in a way. It's kind of funny. We've even had where Jesse Brewer was, had to stand over here on the sidewall in the courtroom to make sure that we weren't breaking the rules and stuff like that, like a babysitter. It's been interesting sometimes up there, the way that they have made us feel welcome, we'll say.
And I hate that for us. I wish that it was different. And I think that the disconnect is unfortunately still a lot of the consequences from Ron Durbin. I don't want to blame everything on him, right? Because but that whole situation really damaged the relationship that we have with the agencies, I mean, and so I know that, there are a lot of people working to rebuild that, because at the end of the day, the industry and the licensees and the authorities that govern them, we have to work together on a daily basis.
We need to be able to communicate.
Right. We have to be able to communicate and not shut each other out and not say, well, I'm not going to talk to you because, you're helping this person. We, at the end of the day, have to be mature adults and mature business people who are able to get things done. And so that's where we're at. I hope that we can start rebuilding and rekindling that relationship here in the future. And I hope that maybe I can help do some of that as an ex-employee of OMMA and then being able to still talk to them now, because, not everybody at OMMA is bad. Not everybody in the industry is bad. Right. And so the more we can kind of see where the other is coming from, is going to help us move more towards what's best for everybody. Because the greater good at the end of the day is what we're all working for. We want all Oklahomans to have safe access to these products that they need. And we want those products to be the best products that they can get. So we don't want to see limitations on dosage, but we do want to see accountability on pesticides and the production of those products, right? And so we definitely have room for improvement.
Yeah.
And
Jeff says we are a transparent lab and ask for transparency for the entire industry. We back that fully, as a group and as individuals ourselves. So Mo from Harvard Labs says, "You two are awesome. Thank you for having this live stream, Summer. I hope you're feeling better and better while on the mend." Thank you, guys. For everybody that checked on me in the last week, 10 days, thank you so much for doing so. I was incredibly sick and I was hospitalized twice already in January. And so pretty much just staying away from the public and trying to heal and get better before I expose myself to too many more people.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Let's see. We appreciate you guys. Thank you, Stephanie, for being on the podcast. And the last comment was from Ronnie. It says, "Why can't the fire marshal just give out a temporary pass like with a food truck? So I've been told." Very good question, Ronnie.
Yeah, I think that is a great idea. There are temporary certificate of occupancies given out depending on what municipality you're in. The state fire marshal's office does not do that, but some of the local municipalities actually have that process in place. That would be a legislative move, though, right? So talk to Rep. Rosenkrantz and all of our friends that say that they want to help make the medical marijuana industry better. You know, John Eccles is now getting back involved, Scott Fettgetter. You know, I mean, there are other people we can talk to. In fact, Jed Green would be the one to get all that info too. And if y'all don't know Jed, go talk to Jed. I know Summer and them know Jed, but if you're watching and you don't know who Jed Green is, go track him down and talk.
He's got a lot of great questions and answers on his site for ORCA. But you know, John Kane, Representative Kane, he's the representative for my area, and we actually had a conversation with him about a month and a half ago or so, and we identified to him the issues that we felt like were going on in government transparency with the recording issues. And he was very, very, very interested in that. And the thing I've learned about going before the Capitol and talking to all these people is that if you are able to find what their special interest is, okay, and then you give them that piece of your problem that's their special interest piece, then you're more likely to get more action on all of what you need addressed by giving them little tidbits to each tackle individually. So that would be my advice to others coming into this. I wish I would have had somebody tell me that 2 years ago.
Yeah. I really would love to see our industry have a real lobbyist at the Capitol. I mean, that is, if you just look at the Cattlemen's Association and the kind of power that they have up at the Capitol. I mean, I just saw today that they reneged their endorsement of, was it Guttner? I think Guttner.
The OCA revokers.
They said, no, he doesn't align with what we want here for our farmers and our beef producers. And he's powerful. They are powerful. So we need a powerful voice at the Capitol along with Jed and you guys. I mean, y'all can't be the only ones. We need financial backing, we need manpower.
If I had $1 a month from each patient, do you realize how much money that would be? That would be enough to be able to put me at that building 40 hours a week, right alongside them fools. You know what I mean? And be able to make sure patient perspective. $1 a month, guys. Not much.
And, and our businesses should be throwing in on that too.
I wish you guys would come sponsor me. I'm not after y'all. I want OMMA to fix the damn problems.
Right. You know, I will tell you, I was very happy to see the barcode go on the patient licenses. And I'm sure Director Barry is probably tired of hearing about that from me, because that was my big thing while I was at OMMA. And I was like, listen, if you put barcodes on the patient licenses, that's going to help the retail side exponentially, because that is the longest process that it takes to get that patient into a cell. And then on the flip side for patients, I mean, we have elderly and disabled people that can't stand there for 10 freaking minutes while they're putting in their 16-digit code that you can't tell if the 0 is a 0 or an O on. And so
that's the other thing, clerical errors, that they were shutting down businesses over zeros and O's, which is absolutely horrendous to me. How can you possibly do that whenever it's your own damn fault that the issue exists?
Exactly. So I am super glad that they did that. Although, do y'all remember when they did the new patient cards with the goat as the patient's picture? Do y'all remember that?
The what?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yes.
So anything's better than a goat picture. So.
Well, Ronnie says he needs to renew his Oklahoma Cattlemen's assignment membership. Well, get on it, man.
Get on it. Yeah.
Stephanie, is there anything at all that we have not addressed today or talked about that you want to share or enlighten people about?
Not that I can think of right now, but just want to remind everybody that like we're all in this together. We're on the same side. So it needs to be about peace, love, and harmony. Let's come together for the patients, stop the drama, love each other.
Hug each other.
Hug each other. Yes. So that's really it. You know, I'm so honored to be able to be in this industry and do cannabis for a living. I love it. I'm super passionate about it. So, and if you want my cell phone number, don't be scared to ask. I'm happy to give it out. And I love our industry, and I think it's only going to get better from here. And I'm so proud of what we've already done and the potential of what we have still to do.
Well, I want to invite you back in a couple of weeks, and I want to make it a joint effort. I want to bring Jeremy Woods from Wild West Compliance on as well, and have the three of us on that show. If you're interested, I'd love to do that.
Sure, absolutely. And I love Jeremy. He is amazing.
Yes.
So, and super knowledgeable. Super knowledgeable about compliance, man.
Yes.
So listen, he's chef's kiss on that.
Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and spending the extra 40 minutes with us. We went a little bit over, just a little bit, right? But all great stuff. So go back, watch it. You know, don't watch that bullcrap Prime movie tonight. Go back and watch this. It's much better. And we will see you guys next week on Saturday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, again, for our Patients for Safe Access podcast. So talk to you guys later. Much love, one love, and we will catch you then. Thank you, Stephanie.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Shining bright like the healing rays. 420 patients, we stand as one. Safe access for everyone. Oh, we rise up.